The day had not yet decided to be born when the boy opened his eyes. There was no alarm clock. There never was. His body had learned on its own when to wake up, a mixture of habit, hunger, and quiet worry. He lay there for a few seconds, staring at the stained ceiling, counting the cracks he already knew by heart. There were 17. Always 17. He liked fixed numbers. They gave him the feeling that at least something in the world stayed in place. He got up carefully. The floor was cold. It always was. In the corner of the room, his mother slept on her side, exhausted, too tired even to turn during the night. The boy watched her face for a moment. The marks of fatigue were there, even in sleep. He didn't want to wake her. He never did. In the kitchen, there were no surprises. A glass of water sat on the table, left there the night before. He drank slowly, as if that might fool his stomach. It didn't. It never did. Still, he thanked it in silence. Then he sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, and began to think. Thinking was where he felt whole. Hunger didn't scream. It whispered. While other children complained loudly when they were hungry, his was different. It settled in quietly, tightening from the inside, demanding endurance. Over time, he learned to live with it the way people live with an old pain. At school, they said he was too quiet. No one knew that silence was a choice. While the teacher spoke, the boy didn't just listen. He connected things. He made links that weren't written on the board. He calculated possibilities. He anticipated answers, but he never raised his hand. He learned early that drawing attention wasn't always safe. Once, when he was younger, he had done that. Corrected a teacher, not out of defiance, but instinct. The class laughed. The teacher grew irritated. He never tried again. From then on, he observed, and he learned. That day, like so many others, the boy sat in the last desk. That was where he became invisible. In front of him, conversations about things he didn't have, new video games, trips, clothes. He listened without envy. He didn't feel anger. He felt curiosity. How did that world work? Why did some people have so much, while others had so little? There was no room for those questions in the classroom. During a math test, he finished before everyone else. He stared at the paper, reviewing each step in his mind. There was no mistake. He turned it in and returned to his seat. Days later, when the grades were announced, his wasn't mentioned. Not high enough for praise, not low enough for concern. It was simply ignored. The boy noticed. He always did. At night, his mother came home late. The boy always pretended to be distracted, but he noticed everything. The way she took off her shoes slowly, the held-back sigh, the smile that appeared too quickly to be real. How was school, she asked. Normal, he answered. Normal was a safe word. It didn't worry anyone. It didn't demand explanations. She prepared what she could. Sometimes bread, sometimes nothing. Always love. When she thought her son was asleep, she sat on the edge of the bed and stayed there in silence, thinking, calculating bills that never quite added up. The boy, pretending to sleep, heard it all. That was where he learned something essential. The world wasn't fair, but it still had to be understood. Without new books, he reread the old ones. Without internet, he imagined. He created challenges for himself, did mental calculations while walking, observed patterns in people, in schedules, in buses that were always late. He didn't know what to call it. He only knew his mind never stopped. One night, he found an old notebook in the building's trash. He brought it home as if it were a treasure. In it, he began writing numbers, ideas, questions. They weren't dreams, they were plans, even if still unclear. He didn't want to be rich. He wanted to understand. That specific morning, something changed. The boy felt it before he knew it. The street was louder, a different movement. Cars that didn't usually pass through there, well-dressed people looking around with unfamiliar eyes. An event, something big. He watched from his usual concrete step. Then a man stopped, well-dressed. Expensive watch. A rushed look for a few seconds. Their eyes met. The man was about to walk on, but he hesitated. "Hey, kid." The boy looked up. "Do you know where the convention center is?" It was a simple question. Ordinary. But the boy didn't answer right away. He thought, calculated distances, considered the time of day. If you go that way, you'll hit traffic. It's better to take the back avenue. It takes 5 minutes longer now, but saves you 20 later. The man frowned. "How do you know that?" The boy shrugged. "It always does." There was a strange silence. The man smiled slightly. A short, evaluative smile. Interesting. He thanked him and walked away. But he took something with him, a doubt. Later, another man appeared. Then another. The simple neighborhood began receiving people who didn't belong there. The boy watched everything carefully. At one point, one of them stopped again in front of him. "You said it would save 20 minutes, right?" "Yes, it saved 30. The man fell silent for a moment. "How old are you?" the boy answered. It was the first time in a long while that someone asked. The invitation came without promises. it came with curiosity. "Tomorrow, something important is happening nearby," the man said. "I'd like you to be there, just to listen." That night, the boy looked at his mother while she talked about work. He thought he hesitated. She noticed. "What is it?" he told her. She didn't understand everything, but she trusted him. "Go," she said. "Just go." That night, the boy didn't sleep. Not from anxiety, from anticipation. He didn't know that the next day, someone would look at him for only 10 seconds and decide, in that brief moment, that he wasn't worth anything, and that this mistake would be expensive, very expensive. The convention center felt like another planet. The boy stopped at the entrance for a few seconds, observing the glass reflected his small, out-of-place image. People walked past him with confident steps, badges hanging from their necks, conversations moving too fast to follow. He adjusted his simple clothes. They weren't dirty, just wrong for that place. He took a deep breath and went inside. The air was different, cold, calculated. The scent of expensive coffee and discreet perfume. Giant screens displayed numbers, charts, projections of the future. The boy didn't understand everything, but he understood enough to realize one thing. Decisions were being made there without anyone thinking about the consequences for those outside. People looked at him, some with curiosity, most with discomfort. He felt it on his skin, the way they avoided him, the way voices lowered as they passed, the way no one asked what he was doing there. He had learned early to recognize that kind of look, the same one from school, the same one from the street, the look that measures worth without listening to a single word. He kept walking, guided only by signs and instinct. Each step was an exercise in control. He didn't want to look lost. He didn't want to look small, but he felt both. On the other side of the hall, a man observed everything with trained disinterest. Tall, impeccable posture, a calm expression that belonged to someone who commanded a great deal without ever raising his voice. The kind of person who didn't need to speak loudly to be obeyed. He was the owner of that event, of that space, of decisions that affected thousands. Accustomed to winning, he believed in something simple. Time was money, and no one deserves more than a few seconds of his attention. To him, that was efficiency. The man who had invited the boy found him near a side table. "You came," he said, surprised. "Yes, good. Stay here. Just observe." The boy nodded. He observed. He listened to conversations about investments, mergers, strategies, difficult words, big ideas. Some made sense. Others felt too empty for the certainty with which they were spoken. At a certain moment, a discussion started nearby. A logistical problem, an unexpected delay, numbers that didn't add up. The boy listened in silence. He thought he connected. "That doesn't add up." Someone said, "It does, we just haven't seen it yet." Another replied. The boy took a step forward without realizing it. "It doesn't add up because you're looking at the wrong point." The silence was immediate. Everyone turned at the same time. The boy froze for a second. He had been there before, but it was too late to step back. "Say that again," someone said. He took a deep breath. "The problem isn't the delay, it's how the schedules overlap. If you switch to stages, the cost drops and the delay disappears." A few seconds of silence followed. Someone laughed. "Who is this kid?" The laugh wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, it was worse. It was short, dismissive, automatic. The laugh of someone who doesn't even bother to consider the powerful man. Until then, distant, turned his head. He looked at the boy. 10 seconds. That was all he gave him. 10 seconds to judge the clothes. 10 seconds to judge the age. 10 seconds to decide the boy wasn't worth his time. "We're busy," he said calmly. "Can someone take the kid out of here?" The laughter spread. Not out of cruelty, out of habit. The boy didn't argue. He didn't explain. He didn't beg. He simply lowered his gaze and took a step back. He had learned early that insisting didn't always change the ending. The man who had invited him tried to say something, but hesitated. The weight of hierarchy was heavier than curiosity. The boy walked away slowly, feeling something different this time. It wasn't shame, it was clarity. For the millionaire, the matter ended there. He returned to the conversation, convinced he had done the right thing. He didn't have time for distractions. People like that boy showed up all the time, convinced they had simple answers to complex problems. He had seen it before, and it always ended the same way. Wrong, he thought. Always wrong, but not for everyone. The man who had invited the boy couldn't forget what he had heard. The logic made sense, too simple to ignore. He redid the calculations once, twice, 3 times. The result was the same. The boy had been right. A chill ran down his spine. Minutes later, someone noticed. Wait, if we switch these stages, silence returned. The numbers began to change. So did the faces. The millionaire stepped closer. Now serious? What happened? No one answered right away, until someone said, carefully, that suggestion, from the kid. The man stood still. Pride didn't allow an immediate reaction. Make the adjustments, he said. now, but something inside him tightened. Outside, the boy sat on a concrete bench. The event continued without him. He watched people pass, as he always had. But something had changed. He didn't feel smaller. He felt confirmed. He didn't know it yet. But the mistake of those 10 seconds had already begun to demand its price, and that powerful man would still have a long time to regret it. The boy was already halfway home when he heard his name. He turned slowly. The same man from the event was coming toward him, slightly out of breath, not from physical urgency, but from moral urgency. "Wait," the man said. "Please." The boy stopped. There was no expectation on his face, only attention. "You were right," the man said, without hesitation. "We redid everything. It worked." The boy didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply nodded. "They want to talk to you." The boy thought of his mother, thought of the house, thought of how that world felt far too big. When he asked now, walking back into that building was harder than leaving it. Now the boy knew exactly what awaited him. Stares, judgments, silences sharper than words. The hall felt smaller, more hostile. The millionaire stood with his arms crossed, watching a screen. He didn't turn right away. "Was it you who suggested the change?" he asked. Without looking, "Yes." A pause, longer than necessary. The man turned slowly. This time he looked for more than 10 seconds, but the mistake had already been made. "Do you understand what you're doing?" the millionaire asked. "I understand the problem," the boy replied. "What you do with it is your choice." A few people exchanged glances. They weren't used to that kind of answer. "We have a bigger challenge," the powerful man continued. "Something experienced professionals couldn't solve. If you think you can, prove it." The word wasn't an invitation. It was a test. They gave the boy a small room, an old computer, a whiteboard. "You have 2 days," they said. 2 days for something others had tried to solve for months. When the door closed, the silence fell heavy. For the first time, the boy felt real fear. Not fear of hunger, not fear of being ignored, fear of failing when, finally, they were watching. The hours passed slowly. He wrote numbers, erased them, rewrote them, walked in circles, sat on the floor. Nothing worked. The logic that once came easily now slipped through his fingers. Through the window, he saw the city moving normally. People going home, eating, sleeping. He stayed. When night turned into early morning, his eyes burned. His head ached. For the first time, he thought about quitting. Maybe they were right. The thought appeared small, but dangerous. Maybe he had been right before, by chance. Maybe he had gone too far, this time. He remembered the laughter. Not loud laughter. The short one. The kind that decides fate without effort. He took a deep breath. He couldn't stop now. Sitting on the floor, leaning against the cold wall, he remembered his mother coming home tired, smiling even without strength. He remembered the go she had said without fully understanding everything. She trusted him. He couldn't waste that. He stood up, erased everything on the board. Started again from zero. Hours later, something changed. It wasn't a full answer. It was a detail out of place. A pattern repeating where it shouldn't. The boy stopped, looked again and again. His heart raced. There it was. Not the final solution, but the path. When the sun rose, the boy was still awake. Red eyes, marker-stained hands, an exhausted body, but his mind, clear. When the man who had invited him entered the room, he froze. "You didn't sleep." "Not yet. I'm not done." The man looked at the board, swallowed hard. This makes sense." The news spread quickly. Executives began to appear. They watched, whispered. The boy felt the weight grow. Now he wasn't invisible anymore. He was being watched too closely. Every mistake felt larger. Every pause, suspicious. The millionaire appeared late in the afternoon. "So?" he asked. The boy explained, step by step, without arrogance, without hesitation. 11. The silence of power. No one spoke for several seconds. The millionaire didn't smile, didn't laugh, didn't interrupt. He only listened. When the boy finished, the man took a deep breath. "If this fails, I know," the boy said. "The responsibility is mine." The answer landed heavily. It wasn't what they expected from a child. That night the boy was taken to a simple room nearby, a clean bed, a bathroom, a warm meal. He ate slowly, not out of hunger, out of respect. Before sleeping, he looked at the white ceiling. There were no cracks to count. Even so, he thought, the next day everything would be decided. In the dark, one last doubt appeared. What if it goes wrong? What if those 10 seconds were right? He closed his eyes. He didn't search for courage. He searched for truth. He knew what he had done. That would have to be enough. The boy woke up before the alarm. The room was still dark, but he had been awake for some time already. His body had rested little, his mind even less. He sat on the bed for a few seconds, feeling the weight of the day that was beginning. There was no visible nervousness. There was something heavier, responsibility. He showered slowly, put on the same simple clothes from the day before. He didn't think about appearance. He thought about clarity. Outside, the city woke up as it always did. For it was just another day. For him, it wasn't. The hall was full. Screens were on. Chairs were occupied. Voices blended into a constant hum of expectation and routine. Most people there didn't know who he was. They didn't need to, not yet. The boy stood at the back for a moment, watching. That was his last chance to disappear into anonymity. Then someone called his name. He stepped forward. The noise slowly faded, as if the room itself sensed that something outside the pattern was about to happen. The powerful man sat in the front row, perfect posture, neutral expression, but something about him had changed since the day before. The look was no longer dismissive, it was watchful. He clearly remembered the laugh. Not the laugh itself, but how easily he had dismissed the boy. 10 seconds. No more than that. Now those 10 seconds felt far too long. One of the executives began explaining the problem. Charts, numbers, context. The boy listened in silence even though he already knew everything. He watched the audience's reaction. He knew they still didn't believe. He knew they were waiting for a mistake. When he was called to the front, a brief murmur rippled through the room. He stepped onto the stage without hurry. There was no applause. The microphone waited. The boy took a deep breath. He didn't speak right away. He let the silence stretch a few seconds longer than what felt comfortable. Some shifted in their seats, others frowned. Then he began. He didn't use complicated words. He didn't try to impress. He explained as someone teaching something simple to people who had never had time to look closely. He talked about sequence, about logic, about cause and effect. As he spoke, the numbers on the screens changed. Some faces began to lean forward. Others froze. A man raised his hand. That doesn't work at scale. The boy nodded. It does if the timing is adjusted here, he said, pointing to a detail too small to have been noticed before. The man fell silent. Another tried to interrupt. And what if there's a delay? It's already accounted for. More silence. Everyone expected the boy to fail at some point, to stumble over an explanation, to get confused. But it didn't happen. The laughter didn't come. What came instead was worse for some, understanding. The powerful man watched without blinking. With every passing minute, the sense of control slipped a little more through his fingers. He no longer saw a child. He saw someone who had understood something he had ignored. And that hurt. Let's test it, someone said. The data was entered. The system ran. Seconds felt like minutes. The entire hall held its breath. 11, IT worked. The numbers aligned. The delay disappeared. The cost dropped. The impact was too clear to deny. No one spoke right away. The silence that took over the room wasn't doubt. It was shock. The millionaire stood up. Everyone looked at him. That was the moment the story would be defined. He took a few steps toward the boy. Stopped. The boy didn't look away. For a few seconds, no one breathed. You were right, the man finally said. The words landed heavily. There was no applause yet. There was something deeper, late recognition. The man continued, I judged you too quickly. He didn't apologize. Not yet, but everyone understood that laugh those 10 seconds had been expensive. The applause began softly. Then it grew. It wasn't celebration. It was relief, mixed with discomfort. The boy remained still. He wasn't there for that. When everything ended, he stepped down from the stage the same way he had stepped up, without hurry, without triumph. Outside the hall, the noise felt distant. He sat down for a moment, finally allowing his body to feel tired. His mind, for the first time, rested. Hours later, the powerful man remained in the empty hall. The chairs were vacant, the lights dimmer. He remembered the first look, the quick judgment, the easy laugh. Now, he understood. Some mistakes make no sound when they happen, but they echo forever. Nothing returned to normal the next day. To the outside world, the event had been a success. Problems solved, numbers corrected, losses avoided. News traveled quietly through closed circles. There were no headlines yet, but there were whispers. For the boy, the day began early. As always, the difference was that this time, someone knocked on the door. It wasn't hunger waking him up. It was the future asking to come in. People wanted to speak with him, executives, analysts, people who, just days earlier, wouldn't have noticed his existence. Now everyone had questions, offers, ideas. The boy listened in silence. He didn't answer right away. He sensed something strange in that sudden interest. It wasn't genuine curiosity. It was fear of missing out. And that made him cautious. When he returned home that night, everything looked the same. The same door, the same floor, the same silence. His mother was sitting at the table. How was it? She asked, trying to sound calm. He told her only what was necessary. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she didn't ask about money or fame. Are you okay? Was all she said. He nodded. She hugged him tightly, as if she knew something was about to pull him away from there. Elsewhere in the city, the millionaire did not sleep either. The silence of the luxury apartment was heavy. No charts on screens, no meetings to distract him. The image of the boy kept returning. Not the boy on stage, the boy from the first moment. The simple clothes, the attentive look, the 10 seconds. He had made mistakes before in his life, many times, but never like that. Never so quickly, never so publicly, never so unfairly. Standing in front of the mirror, the man didn't like what he saw. Not because he had lost money, he hadn't, but because he had seen something worse, how easily he discarded someone. He realized that habit judging quickly wasn't an exception, it was a rule, and now it had a name, a face, a consequence. It took days for him to make the decision. It wasn't easy. Apologizing had never been natural to him. The world had always adjusted to his decisions, not the other way around. But this time, the world had adjusted despite him. He sent for the boy, not as a test, not as a challenge, but as someone who needed to speak. The meeting took place in a small room. No screens, no executives, no audience, just the two of them. The boy entered calmly. There was no tension in his steps, only awareness. The millionaire stood up. For a moment he seemed to search for the right words. "I was wrong," he finally said. Simple, direct, late. The boy didn't respond immediately. He waited. "I judged you in seconds," the man continued, "and that says more about me than about you." The boy listened. There was no satisfaction on his face, no pride. "The mistake has already been made," the boy said calmly. It wasn't an accusation, it was a statement. The millionaire took a deep breath. "I want you to stay, to work with us, with access to everything, with resources, with possibilities." It was an offer that would change any life, the boy thought. Not about money, not about status. He thought about his mother, about school, about silent hunger. He thought about the laugh. "I'll help," the boy said, "but not like that." The millionaire frowned. "I don't want to be an exception," the boy continued. "I want you to change the way you look." Silence fell. This time, it wasn't discomfort. It was a real challenge. In that moment, the man realized something deeply uncomfortable. He was no longer in control. For the first time, someone standing before him didn't want something from him. They wanted something bigger, something that couldn't be bought. After a long silence, the millionaire nodded. "That will be expensive," he said. "It always has been," the boy replied. Changes began, slow, difficult, contested, criteria revised, voices heard, processes questioned. None of it happened overnight, but it started. And for someone used to deciding in seconds, that was the greatest sacrifice. The boy didn't become a celebrity. He didn't give interviews. He didn't seek the spotlight, but he stopped being invisible. And more importantly, he made sure others would be seen too. Months later, the millionaire watched another event. Other people, other faces. This time he looked longer, listened more, thought more. The 10 seconds still haunted him, and they always would. Time passed, not dramatically, not in sharp cuts. It passed the way time always does, through ordinary days, small decisions, almost invisible choices. The boy grew up, not overnight, not as a miracle. He grew because he was given space to do so. He kept studying. Now, with new books, with access, with guidance, but he kept his old habits. He observed before speaking. He thought before deciding. He never raised his voice to be noticed. He didn't need to anymore. People listened. His mother no longer had to pretend. Her smile stopped being rehearsed. Her exhaustion eased. She never asked how everything had happened. She never needed to. For her, what mattered was simple. Her son was whole. The changes didn't make headlines. They weren't fast. They weren't perfect, but they spread. Processes were revised. People who had once been ignored were heard. Ideas began coming from unlikely places. Not because the world became fair, but because someone proved that ignoring others is costly. The powerful man aged a little during that time. Not in his face, in his posture. He began doing something he had once dismissed. Stopping to listen, stopping to look, stopping for more than 10 seconds. Sometimes, during long meetings, his mind drifted, not to numbers, but to that exact moment. The boy standing there, the room laughing, him deciding too quickly. There was no anger in the memory. There was vigilance, a constant reminder of what not to repeat. Before any important decision, he did something simple. He looked again. He asked one more question. He waited a little longer than necessary. Some people found it strange. He didn't explain. Years later, the boy, now a young man, walked through the same neighborhood as before. Not much had changed there, and that was part of why he returned. He sat on the same concrete step. He watched people pass. He thought. A smaller boy ran past, distracted. He almost bumped into him. "Sorry," the boy said, without stopping. The young man smiled slightly. He watched him run off, and for a moment, he saw himself there. He stood up. walked over to the boy. "Hey," he called. The boy turned, cautious. "Do you know where this place is?" It was a simple question, ordinary, but the boy answered quickly, clearly, precisely, intelligently. The young man listened. He didn't interrupt, he didn't laugh, he stood there, listening. More than 10 seconds, much more. When the boy finished, the young man thanked him. "You think well?" he said. "Keep doing that." The boy smiled, not fully understanding, and ran off. The young man stood there for a few moments. He felt something rare, peace. He finally understood that the true impact of those 10 seconds was not on the stage, not in money, not in power. It was there, in the care not to repeat the mistake. In another part of the city, the millionaire watched an event similar to the one from years ago. Another hall, other people. He saw a young person standing at the back. No one was looking at them. The millionaire did something different. He stood up, walked over, and stopped. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then he spoke. "What do you think?" The question was simple, but it carried everything. 10 seconds may not seem like much, but they are enough to destroy or to change everything. It depends on what you do with them.